And looks like it's all happening. So look, thank you everybody for coming on the call and welcome. My name is Justin Phillips and I'm here to share a breakthrough that can change your life. ASEA products have really impacted my life because I've seen, my background is in 22 years of health and wellbeing, 19 years mainly in clinics and personal training, paramedics, complementary medicine therapy clinics, health food shops, things like that, integrated medical clinics. And I have seen results with these technologies that blew my mind. And tonight you're going to hear from a very special lady who really was a critical part of that and my whole attitude towards health and wellbeing and how I could make the greatest impact on the planet. Sharing mainly this product as opposed to doing the whole multitude of things that I was doing. So yeah, it's besides my own journey of a multi-systemic bacterial infection, usually transferred by ticks and doesn't apparently exist in Australia, according to the Australian government. That just about killed me and I fully recovered from that. That was amazing. Plus another nasty stealth infection, bacteria, and also I had an autoimmune disease of thyroid, of which I've all completely recovered from through, and I believe I attribute a large part of that credibility of recovering to this technology. This technology has given me more reward, and I really believe I've helped more people in the last 3.5 years teaching this technology than I had in the previous 19 years. So yeah, it's a big deal for me, and I'm really privileged and honoured to be a large part of the organisation and helping people learn about these incredible molecules. So tonight we have a very special guest, Rachael, and she's going to share her redox experience with us. So we're super grateful for that. Thank you so much, Rachael, for coming on the call. Give a round of applause. Go, everybody get excited. Give a round of applause. Yes. Amazing. All right, fantastic. Good, everyone, so we don't get too much feedback. And before we get started, I invite you to think about a few questions to get in touch what you're looking for in your life and like why you're here and how the information you hear tonight could potentially change the direction and the course of your life. So you may have a health challenge or you may know of someone with a health challenge that needs your help, right? The statistics in Australia are horrendous, and 1 in 2 Australians will experience cancer in their lifetime is an official statistic. It's about 1 in 7 has an autoimmune disease, and you know everyone knows someone who's sick, right? And so we really can have an active impact in the people that we know by sharing this incredible technology. Who would like to reduce the visible signs of aging? Hey, who wants to be younger for longer? Absolutely. And do you need more energy to do what you love in life? Now, you may be a professional athlete. We've got some pretty amazing athletes on the call, but also there are. Just think about your day. If you had 10% increase endurance in your day, would that translate to a big difference when you got home? That you could increase the quality of your life. You could perhaps have a little bit more energy to deal with your spouse or your family or siblings or family members, and just overall quality of life. You've got more energy, you can get more stuff done and really enjoy that. Are you looking to be an improvement in your athletic performance or enhance your performance at work as an executive or something like that? So this really is a cutting edge performance enhancing technology as well. And last but not least, are you looking for more time, money, freedom? Are you looking for a better quality lifestyle? Are you looking for an opportunity that can help free you from the drudgery of the rat race that so many Australians and so many people around the world are really caught up in? This technology and this opportunity really has transformed my life and many others in that area as well. And that was an added bonus, something that I wasn't looking for when I first started. So the health of people today is really not looking good. Autoimmune diseases are on the rise. The prevalence increasing even among children. I literally just spoke to someone on the phone with a neurological segregation issue. It sounds like an autoimmune disease, and they're like stuck. Like, what do I do? And I'm getting those calls all the time, and it's really terrifying. So we need to change that trend around. Inflammation's on the rise due to chronic illness, chronic stress, poor diet, environmental toxins. Chronic inflammation is the underlying cause of all disease, including heart disease, diabetes, Alzheimer's, stroke, and cancer. And obviously anything that ends in itis. Itis means inflammation. So heart disease is the underlying cause of 1 in 3 deaths in the United States. Digestive issues are on the rise, and you probably have lots of friends and family members these days with food allergies, which is very different to 20 years ago. We see that on menus in restaurants all the time. We see gluten-free options and things like that, dairy-free options, because there's a need for that, a real need, because people simply cannot tolerate it anymore, and it can even be a life-threatening condition where someone eats the wrong food and it can make them very, very sick. I've been told someone's not muted, so let me just check that. Please, let me fix that for you. Dun, 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 dun. That should be done. Okay, so, and almost 80% of women have some kind of hormonal imbalance. Diabetes is massively on the rise. It's the most prevalent endocrine or hormonal-based disease and illness in the US. So to really live well, we all need two basic things. We need a body that can do whatever you ask of it to do, and we need enough money to ask it to do some great things, to have a good life, right? To have that body, you must be exercising. You need to be watching your diet. You may be taking nutritional supplements, those sorts of things. You might be doing everything you can think of, or you may not be doing anything at all. There's a lot of shades of grey with that. But frustratingly, no matter what you do, as you age, your cells will respond less effectively to all of these strategies. Your cells naturally begin to break down, and they produce energy less and less efficiently, and they produce redox signaling molecules less and less efficiently. And that means that their ability to repair and rejuvenate and to replace themselves all slows down. So frustratingly, it doesn't matter what we do, as we age, that happens to all of us. So if your cells could just be a little bit more efficient, your exercise, your nutrition, your supplementation, and everything else that you do will be more effective. Whether you take medication, whether you do acupuncture or chiropractic, all of it will actually be complemented through your cells operating more effectively. And that means you could be healthier longer with less effort. So several years ago, scientists made a groundbreaking discovery. They identified molecules that are natively produced inside our body that help our cells repair and regenerate, redox signaling molecules. So once discovered, years of research and development went into figuring out how they could produce these molecules outside of the body and be used as a top-up to our body to put them in various forms, both in a liquid that we can drink and a gel that we can increase our amount of these redox molecules in our body. And the result is this molecular technology that literally increases your cellular communication, which increases your cellular efficiency, and that increases your cellular function. So basically, your cells work better, everything else works better. It's amazing. So therefore, your exercise, your dietary efforts become more productive, your nutritional supplements become more productive, you feel better, you look better, you sleep better, you have more energy. It's pretty cool, and we hear these stories all the time. So now let's hear from our very special guest about their redox experience. Please welcome Rachael Doolan to the call. Give her a round of applause. Woo! Thanks for being so brave, Rachael. So I remember. Well, do you feel comfortable to tell people how we first met, Rachael, or do you want me to tell what I remember when we first met? You're all good. Oh, I can't hear you, actually. What have I done there? Try again. Sound check. Check 1, check 2. Oh, I've lost your mic there, Rachael. Don't know why. Let me see. Let's try again. Yeah. Sound check. Check 1, check 2. Can everyone else hear me? Yes. Okay. Can anyone else hear Rachael? Oh, no, we've lost you, Rachael. Could you please maybe check your audio? I know we could hear you a moment ago. I don't know what just happened. I just clicked mute everyone and then unmute everyone. You're currently unmuted, which is weird.
Can you hear him?
I can hear you, Nicole. I can hear you.
I couldn't hear me.
Okay, so maybe Rachael, do a sound check.
How about now? Can you hear me now?
I can hear you. Fantastic. All right. So, yeah, you okay with me telling my stories? I recall.
Yeah, because, I mean, I was in such a bad way that I probably wouldn't. I don't remember much.
Yeah, I feel for you because I was in a similar bad way not long previous to that. So I remember I was in the clinic and I was actually doing some of the IT. I was a practice manager of an integrated medical clinic with Dog's Body, jack of all trades, clinical assistant, and health coach there. And I was seeing Rachael and her mum on the couch, and we sort of had a little private we had 2 waiting rooms, the big one and another one was a little bit more private where sometimes kids played and so forth. And Rachael was in tears. She was falling apart. She was just couldn't believe that she'd been through such a long journey with her health, spent a fortune, hundreds of thousands of dollars, 13 years down the track, and still her wonderful mum was driving her around because she was so sick. She was really mainly bedbound, housebound, and her life was just falling apart, right? And so she was having this full breakdown, and I couldn't help. I was literally in the room next to her, and 4 meters away in direct sight. and I was fixing these computers, and I could hear her talking about Lyme disease and so forth. Was I meant to say that? Maybe not. So anyway, and yeah, she was, I said to her, I think I said the words, something along the lines of, I said, look, I know it's easy to say and harder to realise, but I can honestly say that I've been there, and now today I'm completely healthy, and there is hope, like you actually can improve with this. And for me, I've been in this complementary medicine space for a long, long time, and tried lots and lots of different technologies. But I remembered that this clinic I worked at was the cutting edge of my profession. We were doing gene testing and bioresonance, electromedicine and stem cell therapy and all this cool stuff. Like they had huge dispensary of all nutrition and herbs and all sorts of things. And it was around this time that someone introduced this to my life, and we started sharing it with people. And I remember I think it was another appointment or something where the doctor and myself were talking to Rachael, and we recommended using some of this on your neck area. And you'd used it for a couple of days, and we suggested that you put it on areas of discomfort and stiffness, right? And Rachael, being a usual human being, and particularly a female kind, Googles it, checks it out, and what, of course, is all the marketing, the corporate kind of marketing of this stuff, particularly back then, was very much about all these wonderful cosmetic benefits, right? And who cares how sick and how much pain you're in? You always want to look better. So she put it on her face and her neck, which is fantastic. But what happened was a couple of days later, she was able to turn her neck 90 degrees, right? A significant increase in mobility and a decrease in discomfort. And she posted that on Facebook. And then people started to listen, like, whoa, what's that? And particularly one lady, a professional medical researcher, Joanna Rustling, who's an executive in the organization, picked that up and went, hey, like this is not a wrinkle technology. This is not an anti-wrinkle cream. This is something so much more fundamental to the way our health works, to be able to help Rachael in the condition that she was in, remembering she was mainly bedbound, to be able to increase mobility, decrease pain in literally 2 days. That's a really significant result. And then from that, Joanna became involved in the business, started sharing it, and then Rachael was actually starting to earn an income and help pay for her products and her treatment from that. And that blew my mind. That's where I went from, you can give a man a fish and feed him for a day, you can teach him to fish and feed him for life, right? And that's where the whole prosperity and abundance and I just took it to the next level for me, of like how important it was for me to share this with people and help them share it with other people, So I know, Rachael, I've told that story so many, many times, and I just love you to bits because you were a wake-up call in my life. So thank you very, very much for joining us tonight. So do you want to...
Yeah, I actually didn't know that I had such an impact on you, which humbles me greatly because you had such a profound impact on my life, and I don't think I'd be here if it weren't for you. So
neither of us would be here if it wasn't for each other. Isn't that amazing, right?
Cool.
Yeah, the universe gives and takes. It's a fair exchange, so it's a beautiful thing. Do you want to tell us a little bit about what life was like for you before I met you in the clinic that day?
Not really.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, for the benefit of the listeners and the people that watch this, do you want to help us just share about the suffering, the pain that you're going through, and what life was like?
Yeah. So yes, I had chronic fatigue syndrome since about the age of 13, and then the immune system from that just picked up everything that was going around, and I was always sick through my teens and 20s and all that sort of stuff. But it wasn't until I went overseas to Europe where I picked up this multi-systemic bacterial infection where the wheels just completely fell off. And after I had my child, that was it. I was bedbound for about 8 years. And then when I finally knew what I was dealing with, I found you. And but previous to that, those years were immensely tough. Like I could only eat about 4 or 5 foods, and by that I mean ingredients. And I couldn't even touch gluten, let alone eat it. So if I did have a reaction and I was having them daily, I would have to live off about 22 charcoal pills every day, which affected everything in my system. I was in a dark room all day, every day, incredibly lonely and in despair, really. So I was having to watch my son get parented by by his dad. I couldn't really do anything from bed. And yeah, I lost my job. I lost my friends. Even lost some family. And it was one of the worst decades of my life. But so incredibly grateful to the clinic for hiring you as a testimony of what can be achieved, because it was pretty common knowledge back then that nobody beat this disease. And here, standing right in front of me, I could touch this person in front of me who had it for chronically for 19 years. Because there were the stories of the acute cases that we got better through antibiotics and all that sort of thing, but no chronic sufferer had really beaten this thing. So for you actually to be standing in front of me, I was actually tearing up as you were saying the intro, because I remember that to be a critical turnaround point in my life, that very, very moment where you said, no, I was in your shoes and here I am. And you were so full of life, a little bit like today.
Yeah, it was good. Good.
And you were the most inspiring person for me. So thank you.
My pleasure. Well, thank you very much for sharing. And I know it's tough to kind of think about that stuff. It's very valuable to, your vulnerability is a wonderful thing to help people realize just how horrendous and horrific it can be when you have a prognosis. Like, as you said, no one really had beaten it chronically back then. No one in my severe sphere of influence or circle of knowledge that I knew of in Australia had beaten it, and it was a terrifying thing. So yeah, it's amazing to see us both here pretty well today. Hey, it's pretty cool. And so you had tried a lot of things too, right? I remember you saying over sort of a period of 13 years, you tried just about everything. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that and that journey and what that cost and the trauma of all of that?
Yeah, so I mean, it wasn't just 13 years. That was the tick-borne disease specifically. Having fibromyalgia and CFS and ME from the age of 13, it was pretty much from that point onwards that we sought medical treatment. So I think it was about $500,000 that I spent personally just trying to get well. But I did a lot of things like antibiotics and herbs and Reiki, kinesiology, you name it, I did it. And to be honest, a lot of it just made me worse. And even at the clinic, I didn't really, with the energy treatment and the cutting edge energy treatment they were giving me, maybe like a slight improvement. There was improvement there, but of course, you always have to get worse before you get better with these sorts of diseases. So there wasn't that massive gain. And then it wasn't until ASEA came in my system and on my body from the gel that's when life changed for me. And to be honest, it didn't get miraculously better to start with. As we know, I had a massive detox experience that went on for quite a few years actually.
Yeah.
It was a difficult time, but things were going in the right direction from that point onwards.
Yeah. Look, I really want to talk about that because I know that you were really quite one of a very small number of cases. I think I've had like no more than a dozen cases where the detox was extreme, and nearly all of them, all but one, actually did have the tick-borne disease that both you and I had. One other had Ross River fever, CMV virus, and Epstein-Barr virus combined. So, 3 nasty viruses as well. But yeah, we'll talk a bit more about that. How many years ago did you first start on the Redox products? Can you remember what year that was?
Yeah, it was August 2014.
Yeah. So that was when basically it first started in Australia. 16th of August 2014, ASEA was launched in Australia purely with the Renew 28 product. So, and so you experienced the more increase in mobility and a decrease of discomfort in the neck, and that happened in a couple of days. But can you tell us a little bit more what happened in the following months?
Yeah. So as you said, the ASEA wasn't launched in Australia yet. So I had to just start with the gel, and then that enabled me to move my neck for the first time in years. And then I put it on my hips, so then I could get out of bed and go to the fridge and get some food for the first time in a long time. And then I remember hobbling down the street. I was in a lot of pain, when your muscles haven't worked for so long. I remember limping and I was in extreme pain, but I was walking and I was just so grateful. But yeah, and then I think then we backdoored the ASEA back then. We got it in from the States, just because I was in such desperate need of it, and
Yep.
I needed healing from the inside out as well as the outside in, because I was such an extreme case.
Yeah.
And yet things didn't get majorly better to start with. Like, there was some, I had to kill off these nasties in my body, and I'd never sweat, Justin. I remember I'd never sweat in 40 years until I started taking the ASEA. My methylation system was just completely jammed, and I did so much genetic testing as well, so I know exactly just how jammed up it was. But yeah, finally I was sweating and I was detoxing and I was getting it all out, and that honestly was horrendous. It was worse than the disease itself. I assure you, I had a stress breakdown, and I honestly did want to die many, many, many times. But I couldn't. I had a son to live for, and there were the occasional good days that came in, and then all of a sudden, it just got better and better and better, and now to the point where I have most of my energy back. I wouldn't say I'm 100%, but I'm probably about 90%, and I don't get any of those dips in the day. Like, it's just a constant, just constant energy. I go to the gym. I'm even running on the treadmills. So yeah, it's fantastic. Like, I have my life back, but I also attribute that to some mental deprogramming that I did as well. So it was a combination of ASEA and some mental rewiring as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, to be sick for 40 years is just ridiculous, right? Like, that has some big impacts on a person's total well-being, the whole belief systems, their mental state, their emotional state, their spiritual state, their social network, their financial situation, everything, right? It's no small deal. It's a huge, life-changing, nearly killed you deal. And that's why I'm so grateful for you to be vulnerable and to talk about it, because it's so inspiring for everyone to realize that to someone so sick to come back from that is just phenomenal. And that it's not like an overnight thing. I've never said that any one thing or redox technology is the silver bullet. It's like the best health science technology that I know of, can get the biggest bang for the biggest buck in the short amount of time. And, so safe and simple. And in really complex cases, it's a case of put lots of different knowledge together to get the most holistic outcome, and to do that. And now here you are, you've got your life back. Now, I remember you saying you bought a jet ski. Do you still have the jet ski? How good's that? How long ago did you buy the jet ski?
Oh, look, I bought that in, I think it was
about a year ago or something?
Yeah, something like that. Unfortunately, I had to sell it. I had a divorce in the process, so I've changed careers, I've changed husbands, my life just strength. Yeah, and isn't that amazing? Like, you did so much healing, and your outside world changed dramatically as well. Like, to get you from couldn't drive a car, bedbound, to like riding a jet ski, like, wow, what an amazing achievement. Yeah, and I don't take one single day for granted. And I was even saying to your lovely wife, I don't even take, even if I get a bad day, I don't even take that for granted, because it's still flipping amazing to be alive,
Yeah, fantastic. Now, so because you were one of this, like, kind of one of about a dozen people that I know of that had so much inflammation, so much oxidative stress, you had so many different infections, I forget the number of cofactors, but it was like a good 5 or something, along with the primary infection. And you were just unfortunate, you had a bunch of different genetic pathways that made it so much harder. And everyone needs to understand, this is very unusual to find someone like Rachael, literally in the thousands and thousands. I've helped thousands of people. I've only met about half a dozen that have had this situation. It was kind of a blessing in disguise that when we first come across the redox, we only had the gel, right? Because we didn't know much about it. We were learning about how it worked. And I've found that the gel in the vast majority of cases, all but one, has been completely fine. It's when we've added the liquid and we've started the internal healing, the whole detox thing has been a bit of a challenge. And that's the vast majority of people barely even notice that, like a little bit of headache, a little bit of sleeping, a bit more sleeping in the first week, but not much. But for you, it was huge. Like, do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Oh.
Not really. You were using a spray bottle, right? You weren't drinking it, you were spraying it, because that much was enough to create a reaction, yeah?
Yeah. Everything I ingested just set me up a creek without a paddle. Like even I'd have a green juice and my body just went, whoa, and then I would just pass out. So yeah, like I would often just, you know, if I had to speak to somebody, I just had no chi whatsoever. That even if I had to speak to somebody, that for about the next 2 hours, I would just notice like an Energizer battery it would just conk out and I would just fall asleep very slowly, and then wake up again 2 hours later.
Mm-hmm.
There was just absolutely nothing. And I wasn't tired. I had, you know, I slept the night before, but there was just absolutely nothing left in me.
Yeah.
So they were very, very dark days. With the detoxing, I was, you know, dry skin brushing, taking charcoal, coffee enemas, you name it. I was doing it to try and have some semblance of existence, but it didn't happen. And I listened to, you know, advice that I was given to do a bottle a day, and I did that for I think a month or so. And I think that was probably a big mistake in hindsight to someone who was so jammed up genetically.
Yep.
That actually created about 6 months of my life that I'll never get back, you know, just with a nervous breakdown. And yeah, it was a very, very, very difficult time. So, you know, if in hindsight, I would never advise anyone to have such massive doses who's so genetically compromised, I guess.
Yeah, and that's a great point, because we often say people that are really sick, you start small, build up, and if you're not getting the result that you should be getting, you've got to ask for support, right? You've got to talk to your upline, talk to the team, get it in the Renew with Redox, ask for help, because we're all so different, and there's so many shades of grey when it comes to healing. The vast majority of people, the redox is so easy and so simple and so safe, and yet there's always exceptions, and there's been about a dozen exceptions, particularly with this specific infection, and all of them have had these genetic problems as well, that they just can't get the toxins out.
No.
And that was the complicated thing for you. You even spoke, if I remember, there was a Christmas time, you were having a terrible time, and even Dr. Gary Samuelson, the medical atomic physicist that stabilized these molecules, spoke to Rachael on Christmas Day. We were that worried about her. We went to the very top to go, what is going on? And, you know, it took a long time for us to really discover the impacts of pyroluria and methylation and like these genetic issues compounded with long-term infection and serious infections, as to like, yeah, we just need to take this a lot more slowly and combine it with a holistic approach. So, you know, thank you for being one of our pioneers. I know it was tough. It was so tough on you.
I totally agree. But so worth it. Yeah, I'm still so grateful.
Yeah. And I know we've got someone else on the call who she's had a multi-systemic bacterial infection from a tick for 49 years or 50 years now, and she had the same situation. She's one of those other 12. She had to start very, very small, literally a spray. A spray or two a day. But again, the Renew didn't seem to create that reaction. The gel was pretty good. It was fine. And then it was when the introduction of ASEA, that changed everything. So that's why if you ever get me on a call, a 3-way call, support call for someone in that sort of situation, we always start with the Renew and then we build up with the ASEA slowly. And we're watching for things in those first few weeks. We really want to watch and take note of what's happening. Now, if a healthy person, when they're on it, we still want to watch them too, and we want to point out like what's changing. That's a great thing, but really this call I hope goes to points out the importance of support and observing and using some common sense when people are really compromised, being chronically ill for 40 years. That's not your normal case, right?
Yeah, no, definitely not. And I've recommended this product to many of my fellow tick-borne sufferers, and a lot of them have just gotten better as well from it. They haven't gone through what I've gone through. So I'm definitely one of those unfortunate but special cases.
You're special. You're so special.
Special, yeah.
Fantastic. So do you want to tell us a little bit about, because I love your story as well, that you did transform your life, right? This created a spark that, you saw a result, you started, it even though it took like a couple of years or so, right? There's healing through that. You continued, you were consistent, you were disciplined, you stayed at it, determined, and then you actually like retrained you found some other things, and now you're a therapist, right? So what a transformation. You want to tell us a little bit about what you're doing now?
Oh, thank you for asking. I'm super excited to be a neuro-linguistic practitioner and hypnotherapist and timeline therapist. I'm just so passionate about the mind-body connection, healing from the inside out, but also from the top down. So we really have to be careful of what we believe and what we think, and how that completely also can transform our cellular function. So I'm off to London on Sunday, which is just amazing. Like I still can't imagine, you know, just thinking back to how life was and now how life is now. You know, glory to God and you.
You're wonderful, Rachael. Isn't that amazing? Everyone, how about you give her a round of applause? Like, what an incredible journey to share. Absolutely inspiring. Just amazing. Yeah, I can only just imagine how grateful your mum is too. I think she's on the call with us tonight, and the amount of effort and the stress and worry that she's put into helping you as well. It's been amazing.
Yeah, so not only did my parents have their daughter back, but I think even more significantly, my little boy has his mum back, and you know that's just the biggest blessing out of it all.
Yeah. So how about that, everyone? You know, do you know someone that could do with their mum back? Like, that's the difference you can make, and all you have to do is go, hey, maybe this stuff can help. Give it a try. Put it on 3 times 5 minutes. Let's see what happens. You know, like, you find a person with a need, and you've got a solution. No one likes to be sold to, but everyone has got problems that they're willing to pay for solutions for their problems. You know, so it's just really about finding out people's challenges and the things that they're faced with in life, and sharing something that can help offer a solution to their challenges. And that's what I did with you, Rachael, and you changed my life because you inspired me to share it with others and help people increase their prosperity and abundance. And when you called me that day and you said, you know, I've got a jet ski, I bought a jet ski, I was like, oh my God, that's wow.
Yeah, so all those years while I was in bed staring at the ceiling in a dark room, I just used to visualize myself on a jet ski. It was the one thing that kind of kept me going. Well, the second thing after, staying alive for my son, but the second thing was being on the jet ski. And yeah, it was. I still remember it. It was a great moment.
Yeah, that is fantastic. Thank you for sharing that, because I speak to a lot of people with cancer, a lot of chronic illness, as many of you know, and I sell them all. You know, like purpose. Your purposeful living is so important. And now part of my purpose is actually sharing this technology that's become a part of my reason for living. Why I have to be healthy. Why I have to be on my game. My mind's got to be good. I've got to have good energy, because it's so important for me to get the molecules out. So whatever your purpose is, this can definitely help that, drive that, and you never know, it may just turn around and you may want to actually become purposeful in sharing the technology as well. So massive thank you to you, Rachael. You're incredible. And we're very, very grateful for your time. Did you have any last minute, anything else you wanted to finish up with?
Oh, look, I'm just thrilled and humbled to be here. And thank you for asking me to speak. Like, it's just an absolute privilege. I can't thank you enough. And yeah, it's just mwah.
Well, look, also I want to thank you. I know you've been really active in the Facebook groups over the years too. You've really helped and given advice and suggestions to a lot of people. So thank you very, very much. I know you've got a bunch of comments in the chat box there about thank you, Rachael. Very inspirational, very encouraging, really inspiring. Heaps of people appreciating your sharing tonight. I just want to say to everyone, of course, the CF products is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure any condition or medical disease, but they do empower cellular communication, and it increases our cellular communication, which increases cellular efficiency and increases cellular function, and that has a tremendous benefit on people's lives. So thank you, Rachael. I actually know another young lady who I met, and at the time she had a similar condition to us. She had similar genetic issues like we did, and she was mainly bedbound and housebound as well. It was a real big deal for her to come out to a presentation in Melbourne. And over the last month, she's been talking to Nicole a lot about babies, because she's got a 3-year-old baby. So that's like completely transformed her life in that area as well. So
3-week-old.
Sorry, 3-week-old. That's what I meant to say. Yeah, 3-week-old. So, it's just phenomenal to see from back then, and we didn't know of anyone that actually recovered, to now people fully recovering and getting on with their life, transforming, becoming therapists, helping other people. just amazing. So bless you too, and thank you everyone for being on the call. I hope you enjoyed what you got out of tonight, and you can share this video. It's going to be uploaded into Renew with Redox, the Facebook group. I encourage you to spread the message far and wide, and to get these molecules into people's hands as quickly as possible, because this is a life-transforming technology. And if you choose to, you can actually go through a training process and learn how to share it, become a professional, and create that time, money, freedom, and live an incredible life where you are on purpose, living with purpose, and making an impact on the planet. So it's great for you to all be here. Thank you very much for joining us. We'll catch you next week, same time, same channel. We'll see you then. Bye for now. I'll unmute you so you can say goodbye. Thank you, Rachel.
Bye. Bye. Thank you, buddy.
Bye.
Bye.